Welcome to Self-Care Secrets. I'm your host, Jamie McFadden, and this podcast is where you will find the tools you need to enhance your well-being one step at a time. In this podcast, I will interview some of the most inspirational humans I know and share their story with you. I'm your host, Jamie McFadden. Let's dive in and learn today's tips on self-care secrets. Oh, hello and welcome back, everyone. I am so excited. Today is the initial relaunch of the new name of our podcast, which was once, what's the word? It is now Self-Care Secrets with Jamie McFadden. And I am so excited to have the guest here, Sara Margulis, who is the CEO and founder of Honeyfund. She is someone who I met, actually, believe it or not, during the pandemic, not because of a wedding, but because we were working out together virtually. And here we are today. She's the first person, badass mama bear, that is in the relaunch of now Self-Care Secrets. Sara, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Thank you, Jamie. I'm doing so well. And it's always a good day when you and I get to connect.
I couldn't agree with that more. And actually, speaking of connecting, can we share with the audience, how did we actually connect?
Yeah, so I actually was my company's based in Florida. And I was attending a conference in Tampa where I was meeting with other amazing women, like Sara Blakely was at this conference. And I was on a run that morning, like getting ready for the day. I knew I was going to be meeting with Sara. I was really nervous. And I was like, I'm going to take a run and I'm going to put Jamie on because Jamie is like my go-to, like I need to feel awesome today person on Active. And so I ran with you, and I know there was a word of the day there in the run. And I felt so great at the end of it. And I took a picture of this beautiful Tampa Bay shore where I was running. And I just tweeted it out to you or Instagrammed you or something, which I had never done before. Like I'd listened to your Active workouts for at least a year, if not more. And this was actually right before the pandemic. It was like February of 2020. And that's how we connected. And we just, like, when the pandemic hit, we both realized that we had so much to share with other people going through something really hard. And I think that's how we first ended up talking on Instagram.
I know. And I actually vividly remember getting that picture. So for those of you that do my workouts where we've never actually met in person, I actually do look in my DMs and I do see these and I try to respond to everyone. And I looked at Sara's and I thought, how cool is that? She mentioned that she was going to be seeing and talking with, it's Sara Blakely.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Spanx.
founder, Spanx. Yeah, exactly. No big deal. Right.
Yeah.
So I just felt super honored, but also it just reminded me everything that I do is all about connection. And it's like, I believe we are all connected. And it's interesting because today you are here doing the relaunch of this podcast, which has been, what's the word, for the first year. We're now upping things and redoing things. And everything I do is revolved around self-care, as I think you know, and many know that listen. But you are just someone who, I look at you and I'm just so inspired every time I see what you're doing. I'm so motivated. I'm captivated. And you chose the word today, spirit. We still focus on a word. And that word is something that rings true to me. And I'm sure to our listeners. Can you share what that word means to you and why you picked it?
Yeah. So this has been something that's really come to the forefront for me recently. Like even in the last couple of days, this word has really bubbled up for me. I had the great pleasure of being introduced to the Hoffman process on Saturday, which is an amazing journey through the self, understanding who we are, what our spirit really truly is, separating it from the challenges that we've had in life or the childhood experiences or the trauma or the addiction or whatever it is for you, and really connecting in with your spirit. And I've had, my mom's a meditation teacher. She's taught me these principles over the years. So I've been there. I've been with my spirit before, but for some reason right now, it's really like coming forward for me. So your spirit is the part of you that can't be changed by temporary challenges or temporary emotions. It's the part where your core values come from. It's really immovable. It stands strong through any storm you might face in your life. And it's the driving force behind your purpose. And we know that, this idea of having a purpose can be really like nebulous and hard to connect into. And people ask themselves all through their lives, what's my purpose? Why am I here? And so that's where that purpose comes from.
Wow.
And for me, I connect with my spirit when I'm working out with you on Active, when I'm exercising. And I think that's something that you do so well, is help people connect in there. I connect with my spirit when I'm holding my children, and when I'm watching the sunrise, and when I'm being in nature, and when I'm meditating, and all those self-care things, right? So why do we do self-care? Well, I'm kind of like suggesting that maybe it's just to be more in connection with our spirit, so that we can be more immovable in the day-to-day storm of
Wow.
life.
Powerful mic drop. Thank you. I am sure that that is resonating with everyone that's listening right now, because as we know it, and you and I, like I said, we connected during the pandemic. You were hoping probably to have the best year ever with, I know everyone I know was getting married in 2020 or supposed to
Yeah.
get married in 2020. And
Oh
so
yeah.
now for the listeners that don't know, can you explain what Honeyfund is and just kind of let people know? I mean, I love it. I can't wait for the day when I get married. You know, I'm going to be, you're going to be on my speed dial, like, girl, we got to set this up.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
please share with us a little bit about Honeyfund.
Yeah. So Honeyfund is a wedding registry, a gift registry for couples who are prioritizing their honeymoon, who don't really need more things, have the blenders and toasters and the sheets and towels, and really just want to make sure they make that dream honeymoon happen. And we actually we've been around for 16 years. We were on Shark Tank, like we've had like 1.2 million couples come through the service. We've funded more than $750 million in gifts. I mean, it's like this movement, and we've been so fortunate to care for all these couples and make their dream honeymoon happen. But what we recently realized through some research is that couples who took a honeymoon are more likely to be happily married more than a decade later than couples who didn't take a honeymoon. And this kind of like hit me so hard. I was like, oh my God, what we're doing is not just, about a trip. It's about like amplifying love in the world and making couples happier and preventing divorce and making children happier. And it just like was this huge, it was a time where like my personal purpose connected in so strongly to the mission of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened all kind of on the heels of the pandemic, when, like you said, all the weddings were canceled, all the honeymoons were canceled, the business revenue was down, like as down as you can possibly be. And, we didn't know like what's the future of Honeyfund. And out of this challenge came this like amazing discovery that our purpose is actually so much more powerful than we ever imagined. And so I'm just so happy to be here, like be able to talk about, the power of a honeymoon for a couple's marital satisfaction, the importance of ongoing travel. Another stat that we came through our research was that something like 83% of couples who are happily married continue to travel together, versus only like 39% of couples who are not traveling. I mean, it was like incredible, all this data. And what are we doing when we travel with our partner? We're investing in time together, right? And when you look at kind of the relationship through the lens of self-care, it's self-care for two. And so you have to like invest that time, right? You have to like, put away the pressures of everyday life, spend time just holding each other's hand and looking into each other's eyes and talking about what matters to you and connecting in the two spirits to each other.
Yeah, I was just going to bring it back to the spirits, because as you say that, I get chills up my spine, because I think about in my life, whether it's personally, professionally, or intimately in any kind of relationship I have, travel brings this kind of full circle experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we get that quality time, we get to have different experiences or check in with different foods, cultures, see different scenery. We get ourselves out of the mundane. It's more magical and beautiful, even if, no matter what the weather is. Sometimes you go somewhere and it's like, wow, you get to just feel that real life experience. And I think oftentimes we kind of forget the importance of that. So I'm so thankful to hear you bring that up, because for those that are listening right now, and I work with a lot of couples. I work specifically with a lot of busy, burnt out moms that are kind of at that point in life where they've put themselves on the back burner. They haven't taken the trips. They've, everything's about the kids and the family and not really themselves. And so I'm speaking straight to them right now, saying, look, maybe it's time to plan that trip. Maybe it's time. And so with Honeyfund, and I have no idea if this is even a thing, but what about for someone that's already married? Do you do,
Yeah.
okay, great. Awesome.
This is awesome. Great question. It's like, you're reading my mind. So during the pandemic, when the chips were down on the business and everything was uncertain, we really looked at what we had to offer, and we said, like, how do we help couples right now? Couples who are struggling with this pandemic, maybe lost jobs or lost childcare, or have to be home to take care of kids, that can't see each other because one is a medical professional and has to quarantine. I mean, there were just so many, tough situations for couples during the pandemic, and we thought, like, how could Honeyfund serve them? Whether it's something like, hopefully we never go through another pandemic in our lifetime, but something unexpected, or just another celebration, a milestone birthday, an anniversary, like. And we really envisioned a platform where couples could start out making that dream honeymoon happen and then continue on with Honeyfund. And our mission really became, beyond just making the dream honeymoon happen, a place where we can power your happily ever after.
Oh,
And the
I
friends and
love
family
that.
are there to love you through it.
Yes.
Because we all go to weddings and we all sit in the pews and we all hear the minister say, do you pledge to support this couple, through their ups and downs? And we all say, yes, we do. But then, like, how much do we really ever have an opportunity to do that? People are
Yeah.
so private, and they're, if your friend calls you and says, oh, he cheated on me, oh my God, then you're always going to side with your friend and be like, what an asshole, like, how much are you really supporting that couple? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And so we saw our platform as a place where friends and family could help us power your happily ever after. So this is what we're doing. The technology has just been rolled out. We're starting to roll out some new themes around babies and anniversaries and birthdays. And if you are someone listening who knows that, you're going to need the help of your friends and family to make this trip happen for you, like it's been a decade since you took a trip, or you haven't even had a date since your first kid was born, or something like that, like you have no more excuses. Invest the time in each other, invest in a trip together, ask your friends and family to help you. They'll help you with childcare, they'll help you with funding it, that, they love you and they want a reason to support you if that's what you need.
Wow. Okay. And that, Sarah, it's literally right now, you just saying that gets me so jazzed up, because everything this year I released a book. We got #1 bestseller, which is super awesome. I got to send you a copy, by the way. And the whole book is around self-care. It's around the system that I created. But the biggest thing is debunking the #1 myth that we all lie to ourselves about. And we all have convinced ourselves that we're supposed to kind of do it alone. It's this solo mission kind of thing. And my whole book is all about that it takes a village, that the only way, because me as a full-time single mother for the last 5.5 years, as an entrepreneur, solo momtrepreneur, as it's like you and I have had this deeper discussions before, that it ain't easy. And then people say to me, how do you still work out? How do you still take care of yourself? How do you still, and I'm like, I'm not going to try to take all the credit here. I couldn't do what I do or be who I am without my village. And so to anyone listening right now, I encourage you, I challenge you, I please ask of you and support you in really reaching out to find your village, and check in. If you haven't reached out, maybe it's time, because just like Sarah's saying, our family, our friends, the people in our circle, we're better together. And we all want, I would want to support you, Sarah. I know you'd want to support me. That's why we're here today. And so the more that we can have, I think, that kind of a conversation around that, the better it is for what you do, for what I do, and for what people want to receive and what they do. So now let me ask you, because I do remember during the pandemic when we talked, there were some obstacles and things you and I were both like going through in our own worlds. But I always love to kind of bring full circle people that listen. They're like, oh, well, you bring on guests that are so inspirational, but like, what have they gone through stuff? And it's like, okay, we all go through stuff, right? We all go through the most beautiful flowers grow through the dirt. So we're all growing through something. But maybe can you share with us some sort of a struggle that, whether it's professionally, personally, anything, like some sort of adversity you went through that you've made it through, and kind of walk us through like some tips of how you stay strong with your spirit.
Yeah. I mean, how much time do we have?
We can always do a part 2.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, my I had a string of hardships that started in 2017, that honestly really felt like was finally just resolving when 2020 came around. And so then we tacked on the pandemic. So it's kind of it's a long and winding story, but it started with really with an opportunity, which was the fact that Honeyfund was really growing. We launched in 2006, but by 2017, we'd been on Shark Tank. We'd experienced all of the amazing opportunity that came from that, all the growth of the website. And we were forming a partnership with Target, where we were powering honeymoon gifting on the Target wedding registry, which you can still use today. And in all of that kind of like amazing growth, my ex-husband and I, we were really losing our connection to each other, and we were really deprioritizing our self-care. And that was starting to take a big toll on our relationship and on ourselves personally, because you just can't put yourself, at the end of the line for that long without feeling it, right? And so we kind of made this big, bold move. We were like, we're going to move the company to Florida. We'll be able to hire people. It's a low overall lower cost basis for businesses. There's a lot of technology investment in Tampa. There's a lot of, like, the universities there are like turning out new software engineers, and there's this whole ecosystem that's really open and wonderful with tech companies. And we were like, this is going to be a great move. We had a cousin there who was a very successful entrepreneur and who was mentoring us. And we were like, okay, we're just going to make it easier for us to do what we know we need to do, which is take better care of ourselves and focus more on our marriage. So we literally sold the house, we moved the family, we put the kids in schools, and bought a new house in Florida, and we got an office, and we started hiring, and everything was going great. And then about a month after we got there, our cousin, our mentor, died of a heart attack at 59 years old. And it was so devastating because he was like the rock. He was like, sometimes you have to put your spirit into someone else. Do you ever do that? I mean, a lot of times we put it into God, or we put it into, our partner, or we put it into someone that we know can just be that rock for us when we're not doing it for ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's what we'd done with our cousin, and he, and then he disappeared. And it was so devastating. Right after that happened, Hurricane Irma hit where we live in Florida, so we had to evacuate. And we had devastating fires in our hometown in California, where a lot of the rest of our team lived. And so not only were we in major grief, but we were also in two very devastating natural disasters with the rest of our team. And I mean, I think I just left my body. Like, I was so not present, you know what I mean? Just in survival mode. And that trauma, I think, ultimately led to my ex and I splitting up in 2018. In 2019, we moved the family back to California because we felt like that's where they needed to be, the kids, the stability. And we took the whole team remote, which was actually, in hindsight, a really great idea. Wow. Because when 2020 came around and the pandemic hit, we already had a fully functioning remote team. So then, fast forward. So I go through this divorce, working on healing the trauma. I reprioritize my self-care. I'm running with you on active. I'm doing, the things I need to be doing, just no more alcohol during the weekdays and all the things that help you sleep better and focus and all of that, right? Mm-hmm. And I took over the product team at Honeyfund, and I was working with them to, shore up the product and make sure it was, shiny and new and wonderful for this huge wedding year, which was 2020. And then we all know what happened. So I was coming to 2020, thankfully, with probably a good year of work that I'd been doing on myself. Right. If that had happened earlier, it would have been a whole different story. But the result of that was that I was able to double down on my resolve and my self-care and my focus. And I got myself a new leadership coach. I invested a year in leadership training. I, really kind of just checked one thing after the next, where do I need to really put the work in, and right. I just kept checking off and kept showing up. And thankfully my kids were older, so they were able to do the Zoom classes and everything, and, didn't need much from me day in and day out. And so, yeah, that was a lot to go through. I mean, it was
that's a lot.
It was a lot.
And for a long time, it wasn't like, boom, okay, this
Right.
1 year, that's like
Right.
this and then this. Now, hearing you say all this, can you share with our audience, because we're all at some point always going through something, right? Whether it's something that we
Yeah.
share on the outside or something we're going, an internal struggle. And, what would you say is kind of like a self-care secret you could share with someone listening right now? If they're, the busy, like you're clearly the busy badass mama, that's, you got it going on, and then things are coming at you. What kind of, is there anything that you learned from that experience of like, wow, I'm so glad I did this?
Yeah. I mean, the thing that I know is the secret is the thing that I still struggle the most with, which is daily exercise. And for me, it has so many benefits. Like this one activity, but even if it's just 30 minutes, helps me focus better, helps me sleep better, helps me regulate my emotions better, gives me more joy, gives me more physical comfort, gives me better self-esteem. I mean, like I could keep going the laundry list of benefits that I get from exercise, but I still resist it and I still struggle to make it happen every day, and I still have to hire a trainer just to like, make me work harder because I won't do it for myself. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, how could something that gives me so many benefits and that I know is like the secret to my joy be something that I resist so hard? Can you help me explain that, Jamie?
That is I would say that's probably $1 billion question. And I love that you brought it up, because clearly for all these years, this is what I do. I started in, fitness, then it transitioned to yoga, then it really went into overall self-care, because so much of it is kind of in our brain, right? And these habitual behavioral patterns that we do. And a lot of it is just based on, psychological responses to a behavior that we're used to doing. Exercise, I think, being the one that, for whatever reason, I mean, the top three are, it's food, exercise, and sleep. Like those three things I hear day in and day out from people. And I think just reminding ourselves that the incremental changes over time really do matter. So, okay, maybe you don't go for the hour, maybe you get a 5-minute walk today, but that 5 minutes is awesome and worth something. And then over time, really, that does create this kind of neuroplasticity that helps our brain rewire, going, okay, that actually isn't so bad. I don't necessarily need to do the hour. And I think that when it comes to exercise, not all of us, like I don't even enjoy exercise most of the time. And that's what I do for a living. If I didn't do it for a living, I certainly would have the same struggle as everyone that comes to me. So I'm glad I chose that as a, career path. At the same time, I think a lot of it comes down to the pressure we put on ourselves that it has to be a certain way. And exercise, really, if we could start to reframe it into being something that is more enjoyable. I think overall, I see this with clients all the time. It's like, whether it's a walk, like I think walking is the most underrated exercise, whether it's doing like throwing on your favorite music and dancing in your living room, whether it's stretching out, while Netflix is on, or whatever it may be. We have these pre-existing conditions and notions that we are like, okay, I have to do the 60 minutes, or I have to be sweating, or I didn't exercise. And a lot of that we're coming to find over and over again is kind of BS. Yes, strength training is great. Yes, you want to mix things up, different modalities, but ultimately our body, it's meant to move. And when we can remember that it's from a place of love and not punishment, I think that's another really good one. So, but interestingly enough, like to answer your question, it's our brain. Our brain is wired a certain way, and then we just kind of go with that. So thank you for bringing that up, because I think for many, that is the biggest struggle, is like, how do I get myself moving consistently? And truthfully, like you said, you have a trainer. I've been a trainer to some of my clients for over 10 years. And I tell them, I'm like, you don't need me anymore. They're like, yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I do. I'm like, well, I'm going to keep training you, of course, but all the stuff. And at the same time, it's the support. Whereas support. Like, whether someone has a therapist, whether they have a financial guide, a coach, like I have coaches for everything. I'd be a hot mess if I didn't. So, right. I think 100%. Part of it is the village. So now, with that being said, you are so inspirational. The things that you do, you're a mom of 2, right? Okay. You run a company, you've experienced marriage, divorce, and all the things in between, while running a company simultaneously that focuses on newlyweds, married couples, and all the things. So I'm certain that there was some sort of heartstrings being triggered there too.
Definitely.
Right now, with where you're at, what is the best way that we, myself and all the listeners, can support what you're doing?
Oh, thank you so much for asking. So Honeyfund is, like I said, really doubling down on our mission to make that dream honeymoon happen. And so if you know someone getting married, I would love for you to mention that, their honeymoon is a priority, just like the self-care that we talked about today. It's self-care for your relationship, and Honeyfund can make it happen no matter your financial situation. Again, with the love of your friends and family around you. It's simple. It's just a gift registry, just like your, store registry. You can have both, and we make it really easy on your gift givers. It feels fun for them. In fact, I think the number one feedback we've ever had on the business is from givers, and they say it always in the same words. They say, that was so much fun. I wish I had that when I got married.
Yeah.
So, do your friends a favor and make sure they know about Honeyfund. And then, as we roll out additional, funding milestones and events in life, keep informed about what we're doing at honeyfund.com. You'll see all the new sort of ways that you can use Honeyfund there. And and
I love it.
Listen to Jamie's podcast, because she's got so much wisdom to share with people who have struggled. Jamie struggled herself, I know, from past conversations, and so open and so sweet about, making sure that you don't feel like you're the only one, or that you don't feel bad about what you've been through, just that you're making progress every day. And that's what we're here to do, is just get better every day.
With our spirit. I'm like, girl, I feel that soul connection to you right now. And that was the same the last conversation that we had. And I just want to thank you so much. To all that are listening, you're going to find everything that you need for Sara, for Honeyfund, in the show notes. So be sure to click on the show notes, go give Honeyfund a follow. You can check them out at their website. They have an Instagram, a Twitter, a Facebook, they blog. They actually have a new blog that came out that literally shows the stats of why it's so important, just like Sara was saying, to travel, to go have a honeymoon. And it's so fascinating when you look at these things, because it's digestible, and then it makes you realize, okay, wow, there is something to this, let's not put this off. Don't wait any longer. The travel and the experience is something that's going to feed your soul for a lifetime. I always think about back to childhood, just to wrap this up with a little bow. Some of my greatest memories of my life are those moments when we took a trip somewhere, are those moments when, and now as a busy parent working, I'm like, yeah, it's tough sometimes, but travel is that's one of my 3 core values. It's funny you brought up core values today, because I'm like, mine are health, family, and adventure. And as long as every day of my life I have those 3 things in line, I feel absolutely set, and that feeds my spirit. So Sara, thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy to have you on, and I hope one of these days we could actually go for a run in person. So we're going to have to get that going.
Let's do it.
we'll do like a Honeyfund, like live event or something. So
I love it.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. And to everyone, thank you
Jamie.
for joining us here, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast and share your feedback. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me here at What's the Word. Follow us on social media with the links on the screen, and don't forget to like and share with your friend. Your support helps us grow and continue to make inspirational content. See you next time on What's the Word.